Welcome to the launch of Millennial Governance, a podcast hosted by California State Assemblyman Sebastian Ridley-Thomas, a millennial who represents Southwest and West Los Angeles. This is our inaugural episode, and we hope to make this a regular interval of communication for public policy pressing matters of Generation Woke as it steps forward to lead in governance, in life, and in the future of Los Angeles, the state of California, the United States of America, and our world. First up is end of session. The end of the first half of the legislative session up in Sacramento offers greater time for constituent services. California's legislative years come to a close. Housing fees, green space financing, climate change mitigation, and transportation infrastructure funding consumed a great deal of attention. Democrats championed much of this work. Some of the efforts were bipartisan. The success of these will be felt across the entire state, irrespective of party and any other characteristic. It's the hope of those that govern that Californians recognize that to sustain economic growth, safe communities, health, and education, we must from time to time increase revenues to achieve these laudable goals. Democrats have not often had the opportunity on our own to advance the highest priorities for state spending. Republican governors, slim majorities in the legislature, weak economics, and frugal voters have made hopes for a robust safety net and poverty alleviation much more difficult. We are now in an era of Democratic dominance in the Golden State, in our state capital. If we are able to convince the voters to retain us in various statewide responsibilities, we will continue to find solutions that benefit the greatest number of people. This focus will more often focus on those who are in the greatest need: the elderly, minor children, working families, small businesses, the health insecure, and the infirmed. Bipartisan cooperation will be emphasized in these matters. We as Democrats will not compromise our values, however. We will not forget we are the party of full employment, of balanced growth, increased wages, family support, education, training, opportunity, and retirement security. Several hundred new laws, many with broad legislative support, will become law over the next 3 months. Some laws have broad impact. Think of the over $100 billion state budget. Some will be very narrow. Think the renaming of a program or department or plan or study. No matter the scope of a particular piece of legislation, often new laws have enduring consequences. This reality begs for legislative oversight. Such activity is best led by legislative committees of jurisdiction. Portions of new law are overseen by state administrative departments. Bureaucracies are organized to implement constitutional, statutory, regulatory, and administrative directives in the public's interest. With hundreds of billions of dollars, over 250,000 direct employees, external contracting spending that exceeds the entire budgets of some states, California departments are overdue for bill implementation hearings. Legislative scrutiny of general operations, review of financial and performance audits, and evaluation of managerial ranks. Fulfilling the oversight responsibility of the legislature will give California residents a better chance of responsive and effective government. State employees are largely working diligently to execute activities that serve the public interest. That diligence does not necessarily mean that Angelenos, San Diegans, Central Coast, and Central Valley, or other residents feel the state government works for them. Legislators are often well positioned to share the narrative and benefits of various governmental offerings. Being away from the Capitol, as we are because it's the conclusion of the legislative session for this year, allows for hearings that focus on matters that require deeper attention or legislative oversight that ultimately serves Californians well. This time out of the Capitol also gives legislative offices the ability to focus on greater constituent engagement and listen for issues that may constitute good ideas for new laws or old ideas that need to be undone. The public was the chief victor in the first half of the 2017-2018 legislative session. Public interest and public need was paramount. Efforts that have long festered were accomplished. A historic seventh balanced on-time budget was delivered to the governor and signed into law. My greatest accomplishments this legislative session were securing 2 more years of a state effort to better serve individuals who are physically ill, disabled, and low income, called the Coordinated Care Initiative, as well as championing the enactment of law that keeps 3 single-gender STEM-focused schools functioning in the Los Angeles Unified School District. Another 10 bills were principally authored, dozens co-authored, and many more resolutions supported by myself and my office. Greater explication on that will come at a later date. The most important fact is Democratic legislative majorities and a Democratic chief executive pledged to govern and have been able to thus far. Californians deserve no less than this: informed and effective governance. 2017, this millennial elected officials' perspective was such a step in the positive direction for the state of California. That's our first episode of Millennial Governance. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the radio in further volumes and episodes.